This is Helga Gilbert. In part one of this lecture, Group Processes, Group Stages, we discussed pre-group planning and the initial stage of the group process. Now we'll continue on with the next three stages. Remember that the name of the stage can change depending on the author that you're reading. However, there's general agreement in the field of group work that the groups do move through distinct stages, and it's vital to know about these stages. Understanding the stages allows a group leader to realize normal progression, when to stay hands-off, when to intervene, when it's safe to introduce new issues or exercises into the group, and knowing that that would be a detrimental thing to do sometimes. So let's talk now about the personal involvement or transition stage. This stage is marked by more member-to-member interactions instead of leader-driven interactions or considerable looking to or looking at literally the leader for confirmation of when a person is speaking, when a group member is speaking. So they're looking at each other, they're talking to each other. Group members are now more willing to share and be active in the group, to give ideas, to express their needs. This is a very important element. Members of the group need to express their reactions to what's happening in the group, even if those reactions are negative. Learning to express honestly your feelings and present them in a constructive manner is a large part of the work of this personal involvement stage. So group members will be giving feedback and getting feedback, but at this stage they don't really know what to do with it yet. In fact, Capuzzi writes that this is a stage of action, reaction, and interaction, and there may be heated interactions or conflicts or even fights among the members. Members are figuring out their own place within the group, getting feedback on that, watching others interact, figuring out who they feel comfortable with, who they want to side with. The occasional turmoil from the heated moments is okay and actually serves a purpose. It serves to firmly establish the group as a real thing, a real entity, worth fighting about. It shows the leader that the people are personally invested now in what happens here. They care. A conflict that's allowed to work itself out to a point of resolution shows the members that this is a place where they can be honest, argue about things, and then resolve those things. It's a safe place. The personal involvement or transition stage, as it's sometimes called, is a stage where groups can actually get stuck too, become unable to move on to the working stage because the group has avoided conflict or it has avoided voicing a lot of negativity, negative feelings, and as a result they don't work through it and they're unable to feel a true sense of solidarity. Members are beginning to evaluate themselves now in the personal involvement stage, and they're starting to get brave about trying new behaviors and new attitudes. Overall, I would say the stage is marked with a bit more turmoil than the other stages, as everybody is figuring things out, but it's also the beginning of a real increased commitment and development of an identity as a group member. What is the role of the leader at the personal involvement stage? Well, they need to help members express feelings and emotions that they're experiencing. They need to allow the conflicts and the battles and the fights for control to play themselves out. While helping members express feelings and emotions, they also need to remind them to keep communication appropriate. Let them know when their statements are helpful, and let them know when their statements are non-productive or harmful or unclear, vague. And then encourage members to explore new ways of behaving. So let's look at what can happen when a group moves on from this into the working stage or the group involvement stage. The group involvement stage is marked by a real shift into cohesiveness. The group is very important and significant in the members' lives. They work in ways that move the group toward growth by encouraging and challenging and supporting each other. The members understand the process of the group, and they feel comfortable enough with each other now to focus on the purpose of the group. The leader of the group is no longer inviting members to join in or pleading with them to voice their concerns. All members are participants on their own now. Everyone is assuming responsibility at times for group leadership functions. The real work can now begin. Perhaps the group is for pregnant teenage girls. It's an educational/support group. The overall purpose is to educate girls on the different aspects of pregnancy and birth for a healthy baby. In addition, another purpose of the group is to provide emotional support among the group members through contact and personal sharing. So at this point, that is the group involvement or the working stage, the leader is able to carry out her plan, the topics that she'd like to cover in each meeting, the issues that she's going to raise for discussion, and the exercises that she'd like the group to carry out together, and even perhaps have individuals carry out individual goals outside the group as well. In working on these individual goals, the group members feel really supported to change. They feel supported by their group, with their group behind them, to risk new behavior and to start taking some action in their daily life. At this point, group solidarity, group cohesiveness has been achieved. The length that all these stages can take varies. Without tight time restrictions, a group might stay in the initial stage for 1 to 3 meetings and then be in the transitional stage for 3 to 6 or maybe more meetings, and then maybe stay at the working stage for as long as possible before some imposed deadline requires that things begin to wrap up. If a leader knows that the group's of very short duration, things will have to move along a little more quickly if that's possible. If individuals haven't found the group to be an environment where trust and cohesion could grow, and the time was too brief to allow the purpose and the goals of the group to be realized, then the group is not going to be a raging success. Perhaps the leader was too inexperienced and didn't plan well initially with screening and setting a purpose and staying to a focus, setting a time length. Or in a different scenario, perhaps the group is largely an educational or a task group, and the stages will be less marked or less critical really to the overall goals that the individual wants to achieve. So let's look now at this wrapping up procedure. In the enhancement and closure stage, what are some of the things that you begin to encounter? Well, there's going to be sadness and anxiety over the impending separation. Understandably, group members are worried about losing the support and encouragement that they've been getting from the group to change and expand and express new behaviors and work on their homework and try out new goals. And so they're worried about leaving all of that, the comfort of the group. But at the same time, this is a time when the group can look back from where they started and everything that they've achieved. And it's actually a very important exercise to go over that as a group. Look how much we've changed. Even going to evaluating individuals in the group and what progress they've made. And everybody gives feedback to everybody else at this point, and it's typically in a very encouraging way. But at times, hey, you could still work on this, but look how far you've come. So even though there may be some critical feedback, overall, the enhancement and closure process is very positive and encouraging. Another thing that happens at this stage is individuals make decisions and plans concerning what changes they want to make in their lives and how they're going to do it. They express their hopes and fears and concerns for each other. They might even make plans for how they can stay a little bit in contact with each other, exchange phone numbers and this sort of thing. And at the end, they evaluate the impact that the group has made, perhaps in a formal written evaluation. That's typically recommended to give individuals some formal evaluation so that you can look at how you've done as a group leader and what you might change for the future. So finally, let's look at the leader's role in the closure process. They need to help members deal with feelings of anxiety and sadness. They need to provide an opportunity for members to deal with unfinished business that happened in the group, if there is any. They need to reinforce the changes that the members have made and ensure that they have the resources that are necessary to maintain those positive changes in their lives. But reinforce what goals have been achieved and encourage them to keep going. The leader helps members develop contracts and homework assignments as sort of new strategies that they can use to achieve goals on their own after the group ends. Give them tools. And a big one is that the leader needs to re-emphasize, again, the importance of maintaining confidentiality about what happened in the group and about individuals in the group. Sometimes it's possible to have follow-up meetings a month out or 6 months out where the members can reconvene and show the progress that they've made on their own outside the group. This is also a nice way to keep members motivated to keep working on those changes and goals that they had while they were in the group. So this is the end of our long 2-part lecture on the stages of the groups. Go forth and read and read and read. Journal articles and case studies are wonderful tools for understanding how these concepts of the group stages and the group process fit into different types of groups and situations.